Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday video. So this week we are going to work with my Crossed Squares stencil. And so what I'm thinking with this one is kind of like if you had a block, maybe a setting square that just needed filled with a design. And granted, this probably would be a little bit more modern looking design. And so what we're going to do is just simply, we're going to stitch this square, and then we're going to add a little echo. And then we're going to put, I'm going to put feathers in here. And then when I'm done with that, we're going to jump over to here. We're going to stitch this one, add an echo, and then put feathers in there. And then we'll do the same with this one. Since it's already stitched, we'll only need to do the one echo around the outside and then fill it with feathers. And I'm gonna, as we go, I'm just gonna go ahead and add kind of like a wavy line freehand to each section so I know where to put the feathers. I'm just gonna use a chalk marker to do that. So let's start right here. Go ahead and just, again, I will need a ruler because I'm going to stitch just a straight line, and I'm going to simply stitch this line of the stencil, stitching that square. Let me get rid of this thread. Stitch down. Now, what size echo you do is entirely up to you. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a 1/2 inch though, just so you can kind of see them a little bit better. So that means that I have my ruler here, and because I want to do a 1/2 inch echo inside, I am lining up the first line, which is a 1/4 inch in, on my stitched line. The tricky part for me is always stopping soon enough here. But luckily with the crossed squares, technically you should mostly be able to stop on this line. The cross line should be right. It isn't always, just because if you were a little bit off, then it won't be. Yeah, that's pretty good, and I'm okay with that, so then I'll just go ahead and stitch that in. So at this point, I said we're going to put feathers in here. So I'm just going to grab this chalk pencil and just kind of do a wavy, almost like a little bit of a meandering line. And I am not going to stitch the spine, because if I just do these little feathers as I come into the centers, it's going to create the spine. And even if I don't, usually I don't even stay on those lines. They're really kind of more like a guideline, I guess. And so I'm just going to work my way along that spine. And just some nice little feathers, and they kind of really act as a fill more than anything. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go out like I was starting another one, and then go ahead and travel. Just like I said, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to stitch this next one. So we're going to go up. And we're just going to essentially echo this. So this has only one side, and this one will have one side as well. A little bit off there, but when I get to this point, I'm just going to echo right here. And I went a little bit too far. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I'm watching to see that my line again is on that line that's just been stitched. And we're just going to echo that. Stop right about at that line just to see if yeah, that works pretty good. And then of course I'm lining up the whole way down, and we're just going to stitch that down. So at this point, I'm going to mark again another little kind of just totally meandery line. And you'll notice this one went this direction. This one is going to go that direction. So you have a couple of options with that. If you want them to all go the same direction, that would mean at this point I would go ahead and stitch this line and then do the feathers, because then they would all be going the same direction. But because it's kind of a meandering line, I don't really care if they're going all the same direction. So I'm just going to scoot over here and now fill in this section with these little feathers. And you can see how that forms that spine. And I really like using this random wavy line because then it makes all the feathers really different sizes and shapes, and I think it, I don't know, to me it looks like a lot more movement. And you can see I'm slightly off of that line, but again, I mean, it really doesn't matter, and once that line is gone, then nobody knows that anyway. Just gonna keep stitching. I'm trying to keep these fairly small. I mean, they're not tiny, but so that they are tight enough that it makes those little half-inch lines stand out. And again, I'll just pretend like I'm stitching a next feather and then travel up to here. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this same process that we've already done on this larger section. And because on this one, because we already have the outside line, obviously, I only need to echo this one. Okay, so that is the end, and I think it's just really pretty. It's fairly simple to execute, and of course maybe you have a flowery leafy quilt. You could fill this with leaves possibly, or even a fill, really, if that's what you wanted to do. Let's see if we can, oh yeah, there we can see it a little bit better with the light off. I mean, it gives a really nice texture. You have something kind of curvy, and then the contrast of these straight lines. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I will see you next time. Bye.